up? It's Amaje back here with another video, and today we'll be watching 10 most hated WWE backstage personalities.
From Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 most hated WWE backstage personalities. Join us. Number 10, Bill DeMott. After his own in-ring career came to an end due to injuries, Bill DeMott, previously known as Hugh Morris and General Hugh G. Rection in WCW, got a job training the stars of tomorrow, first on Tough Enough.
That is a fucking wild name, General Hugh G. Rection. You know that nigga had to be a total jobber, bro.
Then in developmental territory, Deep South Wrestling. DeMott was fired from his DSW post in January of 2007, following allegations of inappropriate behavior and questionable training methods that left several prospects nursing injuries. A young Kenny Omega, for one, requested his own release in order to get out of Deep South and away from DeMott. Bully Bill was brought back for the 2011 Tough Enough reboot and became a head trainer in Florida Championship Wrestling and then NXT afterwards. However, widespread allegations of misconduct continued to plague him, and he resigned in March of 2015. Countless trainees and former WWE stars have complained about DeMott's practices or otherwise alluded to them, including Kevin Matthews, Ryan Nemeth, Kurt Hawkins, Eva Lise, Mike Bucci, aka Nova, and more. Few who trained under DeMott have good things to say about him, with some professing a hatred for the man they believe stood in the way of achieving their dreams. Number 9, Dean Malenko.
Yeah, he did have a bad backstage presence, bro. I remember so many people and like so many lists have always introduced this nigga Bill DeMott, whatever how you say it, bro, because they say he was hitting people backstage, being more rough as I mean, I know in wrestling you're gonna eventually like get physical, but like he was getting overly too physical with people and like allegedly hitting people while they were injured. So like he got a whole bunch of shit thrown on his name, so I can get why people don't like him.
This may come as a shock to some, but many a former WWE wrestler has come out with stories about how miserable working with Dean Malenko was after the man of 1,000 holds retired and became a backstage agent / producer. The likes of Maven, Stevie Richards, Paul London, and Rene Dupree have all spoken about how they were talked down to by Malenko, while the Tough Enough Season 1 winner recalled a specific incident where he was browbeaten by the former light heavyweight champion in front of everybody for his perceived lack of in-ring skill. Others, such as Road Warrior Animal, have mentioned how Dean would act disrespectfully to veterans on the road and sometimes lashed out at them for very little. Animal referred to Malenko as having a Napoleon complex, while others have accused him of throwing talent under the bus to save his own skin. Being an agent, hard to get the balance right, but a recurring theme when Malenko is brought up is how abrasive his attitude often was. Number 8, Stephanie McMahon. Though Stephanie McMahon has been around,
I'm not gonna lie, I thought Dean Malenko always had like a good reputation. I guess you just don't know some stuff about people, man. It really sucks.
the professional wrestling business her entire life, there was a perception amongst some when she began to gain significant backstage power that she hadn't properly paid her dues. As the daughter of Vince McMahon, the billion-dollar princess was naturally going to have heat with some people anyway, but she apparently ruffled the feathers of several writing team members when she was helping head up the company's creative. Former WWE writer Court Bauer has spoken about how he would get dressed down for using wrestling terms like getting color, while another scribe, Dan Madigan, told a story about how he was shouted at over the phone for missing work because he took some time off to attend a funeral. WWE was the McMahon family's life, and their workaholism and other quirks and eccentricities were not well received by many who earned their living from the company. Other notable people Stephanie has clashed with over the years include Paul Heyman, AJ Lee, Scott Steiner, and Chris Jericho. She obviously has her supporters and was practically untouchable when her father was in charge, but the 7, Michael Hayes. After signing,
I didn't even know Stephanie wasn't that like the backstage. I thought she was like absolutely a good person. I heard so much good stuff about her from like other wrestlers and stuff. It just feels like people have like just two sides of them. You see like one side being good and you see one side just being bad. And probably like she did a whole bunch of growing up. She practically grew up in the business. So probably like when she was around her 20s, her early 20s, she was probably like a brat or something.
Michael P.S. Hayes steadily climbed the WWE ladder behind the scenes as a writer and agent/producer. At one point, Hayes became a senior creative figure and a member of Vince McMahon's inner circle, which was enough to draw the ire of some members of the locker room. Hayes was suspended following the WrestleMania 24 after party after he said a racially insensitive remark to Mark Henry. Not long before that, it was reported that similar issues between Hayes and Bobby Lashley had been a factor in Lashley's decision to leave the company. As well as allegations of racism, Hayes has been accused of conducting himself in a manner unbecoming of a senior figure in a publicly traded company. In 2013, for example, he was suspended for drinking with Rosa Mendez after she had just returned from a stint in rehab. The man's own public intoxication has...
Bro, that's just really fucked up. Like, especially somebody coming back from a whole, like drinking rehabilitation program or something like that, and you just like start drinking with them. You're supposed to be that person in their ear backstage, like, nah, bro, nah, you just got out of there. Don't do it again. Don't do it again.
He's in professional wrestling history as polarizing as Vince Russo. To some, including himself, he was WWE's savior during the Monday Night Wars, where he, as the promotion's head writer, helped turn the ship around with his wildly different approach to how he scripted wrestling television. To others, he was a hack who got lucky by being in the right place at the right time and demonstrated his lack of actual talent by failing everywhere else, most notably in WCW and TNA. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, of course, but to wrestling traditionalists in the WWE locker room, Vinny Roo was responsible for taking the industry in the wrong direction by continually pushing the envelope when it came to risque content, not to mention pushing the boundaries of logic with his plot hole-filled angles and storylines. Some, such as The Undertaker, hold grudges for more personal reasons. The dead man claimed Russo continually asked him to work while hurt. I hear Jim Cornette's a big fan, mind?
Man, I can get like why so many people hate Vince Russo. There's so many stories about him throughout like wrestling history, bro. People could write a whole book on like what the hell he did wrong in both WWE and WCW. Like, this is just so wild of how many people talk about this man all the time. Especially Jim Cornette, bro. Jim Cornette hates this nigga, bro. He said when Vince Russo dies, he wants to piss on his grave. That's how badly this nigga hates him. I don't know what happened between them. I might have to watch a video on that, because I might have seen the video in the past, but I don't remember. But we might have to watch that.
The least desirable job is being head of the company's talent relations department. At times a truly thankless role, the person responsible for overseeing talent is blamed for firings, even if the man at the very top typically gave the orders, and also has to punish a performer when they transgress. So it's a tough position to be in, yes, but the person in it doesn't always do themselves favors with how they interact with talent. Mark Carrano, who succeeded John Laurinaitis in the role in the early 2010s, was apparently one of them, with reports after he was fired in 2021 suggesting the reaction to the news from the locker room was nothing short of joyous. Of course, Carrano got the axe in the first place because he sent Mickie James, a respected and well-liked veteran, her belongings in a garbage bag after the company released her. This was, incredibly, standard practice under his rule. Number 4, Bruce Prichard. Bruce Prichard has worked for WWE off and on for close to 40 years. Starting shortly after WrestleMania 3, Prichard has done pretty much everything in WWE, from managing and announcing to working in talent relations and creative. To most people, however, Brucey P is known and being Vince McMahon's right-hand man. This led to not only wrestlers, but writers and other backstage personnel to be wary of somebody they viewed as a yes-man who transparently played politics to maintain his position in the hierarchy. When the man formerly known as Brother Love was released in December of 2008, with Stephanie McMahon, who had clashed with him for years, being the driving force behind his exit, it was reported that few in the company would speak well of him. Bruce was close with some top talent, including fellow Texans JBL, The Undertaker, Booker T and Eddie Guerrero, but the people he worked with in production would often complain about what they saw as his attempts to reduce his workload and kill ideas that weren't his. Number 3, Kevin Dunn. If Bruce Prichard was Vince McMahon's right hand, then you could say Kevin Dunn, who oversaw WWE's TV production for decades, was his left. Dunn was responsible for how WWE shows looked and felt, but also had a big say on who was on them. And let's just say he was noted for liking a certain type of performer, one that was usually conventionally attractive. He also disliked a certain type of performer, notably working hard to remove both Paul Bearer and Jim Ross from our screens, despite them being two of the very best at their respective jobs. The crime of being Southern
and those two are just legendary. How you go disrespect Paul Bearer and JR, man? They've been on literally everything, bro. JR is like the voice of the Attitude Era and the ruthless, probably not the ruthless aggression, but like the Attitude Era. Him and Jerry, bro, it was the shit, man. Paul Bearer, somebody as legendary as him, man, don't disrespect him.
And overweight allegedly trumped talent in Dunn's view. Other talents, including wrestlers, have accused Dunn, who had a reputation of being almost like the great and powerful Oz due to his influence and the fact that he did most of his work hidden away in the production truck, of sabotaging their careers, while others have relayed stories of Dunn making off-color and offensive remarks. Few people backstage, or fans with motion sickness, were sad to see him go. I hear Jim Cornette's a big fan, mind? Number 2, John Laurinaitis. It became a running joke just how sycophantic John Laurinaitis was when it came to placating his boss. Everybody had their impression of what the raspy-voiced Johnny Ace sounded like when sucking up to Vince McMahon, crediting Laurinaitis as WWE's ultimate yes man. And while it might have been fun to take the piss out of the man who once hired the wrong one-legged wrestler, the former All Japan standout made many enemies during his long run in the company, such as The Undertaker, who flew into a rage after he found out that both he and Bob Orton Jr. had bladed in the same match, despite Laurinaitis knowing full well that Orton had hepatitis C. Pretty much accepted that he was almost universally despised by the locker room, and as the man who dished out fines and firings, he naturally would be, and his spectacular public downfall has been widely celebrated as karma coming to collect. Number 1, Vince McMahon. Of course, the downfall of Johnny Ace is linked directly to the downfall of Vince McMahon, once the most powerful man in the industry, whose name now cannot be mentioned by the very thing he helped create. The people who have had disputes with McMahon, and of them there are very many, would say that it serves him right. Because for all the praise Vince received for his creative vision, business savvy,
I think Vince's downfall was just like playing in the background the whole time. There's only so many times you can just like literally make sure you can pay somebody off, or just keep treating people shitty behind the scenes, and money doesn't cover everything. That's the thing about rich people's downfall. They think money is just gonna keep covering everything, and then look at him now. I mean, he's still rich as hell, but like he's facing a whole bunch of lawsuits and allegations now.
Ability to make professional wrestling, sports entertainment, what it is today, he has been criticized for that creative vision, his ruthlessness in business, and for what he has turned professional wrestling into. Not to mention the things that he's done to people and who he has stomped on in order to get to and stay at the top.
Exactly. Bro, this list was great, man. Like you said, backstage personalities. I really didn't get into it, like knowing the backstage personalities, except for a few, like Vince Russo and a couple of them. But other than that, I didn't really know none of the other ones. But hey, if you guys like that video and you want to see more WWE videos, like and subscribe. But catch you guys later.